Obviously, the media's been doing around recently about this Terence Crawford Bob Arum interview situation where obviously Terence Crawford, he's not overly disrespectful, but he kind of gives a bit of a light dig towards Bob Arum while Bob Arum is sitting right next to him. And it was interesting to see it, like the dynamic. Obviously Bob Arum looked completely mortified, like the air was taken out of his sail completely, like he didn't expect it, and he didn't even have anything to say. But from my perspective, I just think it's sometimes refreshing to see promoters that talk a lot of bad things about fighters getting their comeuppance in front of everyone. I just find it ironic that with Bob Arum, everyone eventually leaves him and goes on to do greater things. Don't get it twisted, like he's made a lot of fighters a lot of money, and he is a legendary promoter, and he's done a lot of great things for the sport. I mean, he has. I mean, you can't deny that. You can't deny the fact that he is a legendary promoter, and he has accomplished, like, in terms of being a promoter, he's accomplished quite a lot of great things in his career. His promoting career, he's one of the greatest promoters that's ever lived. I mean, you can't deny that about him. But one thing you can't deny about him is the fact that if you look at most fighters that eventually leave him, they go on to do great things with their career, and a lot of fighters do eventually go on to leave him. I mean, look at Floyd Mayweather, for example. He notoriously had a spat with Bob Arum. He bought his contract out for, I think, $750K, and he went on to start his own the Money Team, a promotional company, and went on to do big things in the sport of boxing, and made more money than he's ever made in his entire career. He made $750K betting on himself, and obviously he's not 100% responsible for that. I mean, a big reason for that success was because of Al Heyman. But you can't deny the fact that it's a pattern with fighters that are promoted by Bob Arum. They eventually go on to leave him and go on to do their own thing, and it seems to work out for them. I mean, look at Miguel Cotto. Miguel Cotto eventually left him. He went on to start his own type of promotional company, and he went on to do great things with his career. Then obviously you got like the likes of what's his name, Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya was almost like a precursor to Mayweather, because Oscar De La Hoya at the time was the golden boy, and obviously he then went on to leave Bob Arum, and then he went on to do great things with his career. So I just think it's like it's almost like a foreshadowing, and I hope the trend continues for Terence Crawford's career. Like, he leaves Bob Arum and then he goes on to do bigger and better things. Don't get it twisted, a lot of these fighters, they had their start with Bob Arum, and a lot of their success was based on, like, Bob Arum actually giving them not a handout, because these fighters have earned everything that they've got in their life, don't get it twisted, but Bob Arum actually like, sort of to some extent putting them on to some extent, because the fact remains, like, before Errol Spence, Terence Crawford ever got with Bob Arum, I don't think there was any other promoter that was really trying to get with trying to promote Terence Crawford. I mean, he wasn't the most marketable guy. Like, he had a bit of a following, but he wasn't the most marketable guy. Let's just be real about it. I mean, he was a great guy. I mean, he had a lot of talent, he had a lot of skill, evidently so. I mean, he's one of the best pound for pound fighters in the sport, but he wasn't a guy that a lot of promoters were clamoring to sign. Like, and the person that gave him a leg up was Bob Arum. Let's not get it twisted. And he's made loads of money with Bob Arum. I mean, in his last fight alone, what has he made? $6 million. The fight against what's his name, Kell Brook, he made what did he make? He made like I think he made $4 million. So yeah, he has made a lot of money with Bob Arum. I know a lot of people like to slag him off, and to some extent, like, these fighters have become millionaires through signing with Bob Arum. But it's also a two-way street. You can't be disrespectful to fighters. Like, Bob Arum, like, some of the stuff he said about Terence Crawford has been quite disparaging as well. So from that perspective, it's kind of fun to see a fighter get his own back on promoters, because a lot of these promoters, let's not get it twisted, if Terence Crawford lost his next, let's say he's lost against Amir Khan, and then lost against Kell Brook, and then lost against Porter, do you think Bob Arum would have still kept him in his stable? He would have cut him off. So it's a two-way thing. I mean, Bob Arum's not doing this from the bottom of his heart because he wants to. He's doing it because it makes business sense, and from that perspective, it's the same for these fighters. They're doing what they're doing for the best of their career as well. So yeah, I just think it's a unique trend that always happens with Bob Arum. Whenever a fighter gets to a certain level with him, eventually they start leaving him. I mean, it's quite evident. Don't get it twisted. There's been other fighters that haven't left him. Like, for example, Timothy Bradley, for example. He never left Bob Arum. But obviously he got the Pacquiao fight. I mean, there's been several fighters that have not left him, but at the same time there have been many fighters that have. Another fighter that's quite infamous for having started his career with Bob Arum, then falling out with him, was Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao, of all people. I mean, there was a time where it seemed like their blood was thicker than water, and there was no way that they would have ever fallen out with each other. But the fact is, man, these promoters, I wouldn't say they're completely shady. They're just doing what's good for their business. But at the same time, when the moment comes when you're no longer benefiting them, they'll cut you out. So yeah, it's a business decision from both ends, and we'll see what happens. I mean, from this perspective, I'll hope that Terence Crawford leaves Bob Arum, then goes on to do his own thing. Maybe he could do free agency and just decide to put himself in a position where he just fights with the highest bidder who pays him the most amount of money. I think that would be good for his career, and then we can see where he goes from there. We'll see where his career goes from there. But obviously, it's up to him to actually make that decision and get to that position. So yeah, that's just my opinion about this entire situation. Tell me your opinion. Who do you think? What do you think about Bob Arum's? Why all these great fighters seem to leave Bob Arum, then go on to do their own thing. Another fighter that's having problems with him is Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez almost got the purse bid with Triller, and then obviously that fell through, and now it's with DAZN. But he's another fighter that's had a lot of problems with Bob Arum. So what do you think it is about Bob Arum that grates a lot of these fighters? They make a lot of money with him, but a lot of times they feel undermined as well, and a lot of them eventually end up leaving him. Why is that? What do you think the reason is? Is there a common denominator here, or is it just all everyone's just against Bob Arum? Tell me below, and like and subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot more content coming your way. Peace out.